Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So it is August 15th, 2022 from Gita Nagari, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 28, Text 51. Tatra Purvatara Kaschit Saka Brahmana Atmavan Santvayam Balguna Samna Tamaha Rudatim Prabho. Tatra, in that place. Purvatara, previous. Kaschit, someone. Saka, friend. Brahmana, a Brahmana. Atmavan, very learned scholar. Santvayam, pacifying. Valguna, by very nice. Samna, mitigating words. Tam, unto her. Aha, he said. Rudatim, while she was crying. Prabho, my dear king. Srila Prabhupada's translation. My dear king, one Brahmana who was an old friend of King Paranjana came to that place and began to pacify the queen with sweet words. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The appearance of an old friend in the form of a Brahmana is very significant. In his Paramatma feature, Krishna is the old friend of everyone. According to Vedic injunction, Krishna is sitting with the living entity side by side. According to the Shruti mantra, Dwa Suparna Sayuja Sakayaha, the Lord is sitting within the heart of every living entity as Surit, the best friend. The Lord is always eager to have the living entity come home back to Godhead. Sitting with the living entity as witness, the Lord gives him all chances to enjoy himself materially. But whenever there's an opportunity, the Lord gives good counsel and advises the living entity to abandon trying to become happy through material adjustment and instead turn his face toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender unto him. When one becomes serious to follow the mission of the spiritual master, his resolution is tantamount to seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As explained before, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the instruction of the spiritual master. This is technically called Vani Seva. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states in his Bhagavad Gita commentary on the verse Vyavasyakat Mika Budhir Ekeha Kurunandana, Bhagavad Gita 241, that one should serve the words of the spiritual master. And we should mention that this particular verse and that particular commentary had a huge effect on Srila Prabhupada himself personally in his own dedication to his sister. The disciple must stick to whatever the spiritual master orders. Simply by following on that line, one sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, appeared before the queen as a Brahmana, but why didn't he appear in his original form as Sri Krishna? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks that unless one is very highly elevated in loving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot see him as he is. Nonetheless, if one sticks to the principles enunciated by the spiritual master, somehow or other he is in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since the Lord is in the heart, he can advise a sincere disciple from within. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Tesham Satyayuktanam Bhajatam Pritipurvakam Dadami Buddhiyogam Tam Yena Mam Upayanti Te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. In conclusion, if a disciple is very serious to execute the mission of the spiritual master, he immediately associates with the Supreme Personality of Godhead by Vani or Vapu. This is the only secret of success in seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Instead of being eager to see the Lord in some bush of Vrindavana, while at the same time engaging in sense gratification, if one instead sticks to the principle of following the words of the spiritual master, he will see the Supreme Lord without difficulty. Srila Bilvamangala Thakur has therefore said, Bhaktis Twayi Stiratara Bhagavan Yadisyad Daivena Na Palati Divya Kishora Murtihi Mukti Swayam Mukunlitanjali Sevate Asman Dharmatta Kama Gayata Samanya Praktisha. If I am engaged in devotional service unto you, my dear Lord, then very easily can I perceive your presence everywhere. And as far as liberation is concerned, I think that liberation stands at my door with folded hands, waiting to serve me. And all material conveniences of dharma, religiosity, artha, economic development, and kama, sense gratification, stand with her. Krishna Karnamrita 107. If one is very highly advanced in devotional service, he will have no difficulty in seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one engages in the service of the spiritual master, he not only sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but attains liberation. As far as material conveniences are concerned, they automatically come, just as the maid servants of a queen follow the queen wherever she goes. Liberation is no problem for the pure devotee, and all material conveniences are simply awaiting him at all stages of life. Chatrapurva Tarakachchid Saka Brahmana Atmavan Santvayan Falguna Samna Tam Aha Rudatim Prabho. My dear king, one Brahmana who was an old friend of King Puranjana came to that place and began to pacify the queen with sweet words. So the main point that Srila Prabhupada is making here in this purport is that we can see our old friend, the Lord, by the grace of the spiritual master. So here we have Puranjana is every man, every person. And Puranjana has tried to enjoy the material world in various ways and then left his body thinking of his wife and become a woman, but not just a woman, but become the wife of a great devotee of the Lord. And in that life, taken up devotional service to the Lord. And actually taken her husband as guru. And now her husband has died and she's lamenting his absence, and in her lamentation, the Lord himself comes and says, here I am, I'm your old friend. And this is a lovely section of the Bhagavatam where the Lord is saying, don't you remember me, that I am your old friend. Why don't you come and be with me again and give up being in this material world? So we're all looking for a good friend. You know, everybody wants to have a good friend. We all want to have someone we can trust, right? What does it mean if we're going to talk about a friend? Because here Krishna says, right? I am your friend. I am your Sakha. I am your friend. So what does that mean? It means somebody we can trust. We can, what was we say? They have our back, right? If we have difficulty, they'll help us out. If they have difficulty, we'll help them out. And as Rupa Goswami talks about the 6 loving exchanges, right? We'll exchange gifts with them, and we know what gifts they would like, and they know what gifts we would like. We know what food they would like, and we feed them what they would like, and they know what food we would like, and they feed us what we would like. And we can open our mind to them honestly, and they can open their mind to us. We can share ourselves with them. And of course, there's levels of friends. We have acquaintances, you know, someone that we know their name, we know something about them. And then we have closer friends. And then we have dear to our heart. And most of us don't have a lot of very, very intimate friends. You know, maybe we'll have 5, maybe 10, if you're really lucky. Some people just have 1 or 2 intimate friends. But none of our intimate friends can be on the level of God. Prabhupada would sometimes say, I am not your friend, but I am your friend in this sense that I am introducing you to your real friend. Because on the level of conditioned souls interacting with one another, is it really possible to be a friend? Can I really always know what somebody wants and what somebody needs? Can I really always be there for them? Right? Some friend of mine just asked me to be there for her, and I said, I'm sorry, I'm not willing to be there for you in the particular way that you're asking me. I can be there for you in another way, but not in that way. And then she felt very hurt. Oh, why can't you be there for me in whatever way I want you to be there for me at that particular time? But that's not possible for one jiva to do for another, right? Even if we want to, we may not be capable, right? And sometimes we don't even want to. Like I said, that's not something that I willingly want to give. Yes, so therefore we become disappointed in our friendships in this world. We disappoint our friends in so many ways, and they disappoint us. And then sometimes we feel devastated. You know, how could this friend disappoint me? I was counting on them, right? But only Krishna can be the real friend. And therefore, Prabhupada would say that. He said, I am not your friend. He said, I am your friend in this sense, that I am giving you Krishna. So we can be the friend of another jiva in that sense, that we are giving them Krishna. And it's a wonderful purport where Kunti says to cut the sneha pasu, to cut the bonds of affection to her family members who were pure devotees, the Pandavas, the Vrishnis. And Prabhupada says there that relationships materially, that's like trying to see in the darkness. That's not an actual relationship. But a real relationship is soul to soul via the super soul. So if I'm helping you to come to Krishna and you're helping me to come to Krishna, then we can have real friendship. And then we can love each other practically like we love Krishna. Just like Rupa Goswami says that all of the angas of bhakti that are described in relationship to Krishna can also be applied to the pure devotee, if there's that relationship of soul to soul via the super soul. So here the super soul is there before the queen, Vaidarbhi, the lamenting queen, in the form of a brahmana. And he's speaking very sweet words. So he's in a disguise speaking very sweet words. I am your friend. But to see him as he is requires love. What does Prabhupada say here? How does he put it exactly? He's quoting Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Unless highly elevated in loving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot see him as he is. And how do we awaken that love to see the Lord as he is? Prabhupada says by following Guru. And then Prabhupada ends the purport by saying that when we are following Guru, that all of our other desires, all of our other needs, our desire for liberation, even our material necessities are taken care of. Okay, so let's look at the Lord coming in disguise and speaking very sweet words. We had a question yesterday in the class at the Body, Mind, and Spirit, where one of the participants said, you know, why do we always have to learn spiritual truths through misery? Because one of the other participants had just said, you know, she went through this problem and that problem and this, and then she came to spiritual understanding. And I said, well, we don't always have to learn through misery. That's not required. We can learn through joy. We can learn in a sweet way. Right? I said that one time years ago, I was talking to Krishna and I said, you know, I'm kind of tired of learning through suffering. Like, do I have to learn through suffering? And I said to the Lord, I'm a teacher. I have a whole plethora of teaching methods. I don't just have one teaching method. I have about 40 or 50 different methods. Surely you must have some other methods. You know, can you pull out your learning through ecstatic joy method? So Krishna prefers to teach that way. And I had to give him assurance that I would be a good student. I said, I will actually learn what you're trying to teach me and I'll follow you. You won't need to pull out another, because a good teacher does that. They have their preferred method. And if you don't learn that way, then they have another method. And if you don't learn that way, then you have another method. Right. And I like to give the analogy that when Krishna wants to get the cows, so I noticed here we have cows coming to this class in the morning. I don't think I've ever had cows as my students in a Bhagavatam class before. This is a new experience for me. So if you want to get cows to come from one place to another, right, Krishna first calls them by name. Like it says, he has these japa beads made of jewels. And on each bead, he chants the name of the leader of a group of cows. And that way he counts that all the cows are coming. He calls them by name. Now, suppose the cows don't come when he calls them by name. You know, cows don't always come when you call them. So then he has his flute, like we have this devotee here, Venu Madhuri, right? So he has this very sweet flute. And typically, right, those who herd animals, cowherds, shepherds, they often have musical instruments to call their animals. So then he plays his flute and they come for the beautiful sound. They understand the sound. But suppose the cows don't come when he plays this flute. Well, he also has his buffalo horn, a little bit more aggressive sound. And then he also has a rope that he carries on his shoulders. And then he also has his stick. So we should come when Krishna calls our name softly from within our heart. And we shouldn't wait for him to pull out the stick. So Krishna prefers to speak sweetly. In fact, Krishna talks about the austerities of speech in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, right? The austerities of speech are to speak, there's 5 of them, to speak truth, then to have a message that is pleasing, to have the words be pleasing. Right? And today people like to talk in very harsh words. To have the truth be something that's actually beneficial, and to have the truth be based on the Vedas. So of those 5, the most important is that what we speak is benefiting somebody. If I tell someone a truth that doesn't benefit them, that can actually be an offense, like to speak above the level of someone's faith or above the level of realization. So Krishna generally observes these austerities of speech. Now, sometimes when Krishna is exhibiting his Dhirodatta personality, he speaks very harshly to the demons. You know, sometimes like Lord Varaha talking to Hiranyaka, he's saying, you know, you're a demon, why don't you come and kill me? And, you know, very harsh, insulting words spoken on the battlefield. But generally, Krishna speaks very sweetly because the primary austerity of speech is to be beneficial. So if it benefits someone to speak harshly, you know, sometimes it's like, wake up, you idiot. And Krishna was a little bit harsh to Arjuna right after Arjuna surrendered as a disciple. He says, you know, learned people don't lament like that. So it was kind of indirectly, borderline, a little harsh. But generally, Krishna is speaking very sweetly. And he's speaking, whether he speaks sweetly or harshly, it's always for our benefit. I am your friend. I have come to give you something that is for your benefit. And as Prabhupada explains in the purport, that we have been trying to enjoy our senses in this probably. Therefore, we say anadi, it's from time without memory. We have probably taken birth in different universes, in different creations, in different bodies. And somehow we just don't get that by adjusting our material circumstances, we have never achieved what we actually desire. Let me try this body. Let me try a demigod body. Let me try a human body. Let me try a demoniac body. Let me try an animal body. Let me try male bodies. Let me try female bodies. Let me try, you know, having this kind of a life, having this kind of a life. And we've tried all of that. There's a movie actress, what's her name? Can't remember. Very, very famous actress. Anyway, she's become a Hindu. And she says that, what is her name? Anyway, very, very famous, very beautiful, very famous. And she says, you know, in this life, I'm always at the front of the room. I'm always on center stage. Everybody's paying attention to me. In my next life, I want to be some quiet person in the back. So we try that too. You know, let me try different personality styles. You know, there's people who said to me, oh, Urmila, I wish I could be like you. I said, no, you don't. You wish you could be like you. But we think like that. If only I could be like this person. If only I could be like that. And Krishna facilitates that as our friend. Yes, Julia Roberts, thank you. As our friend, Prabhupada saying in the purport, Krishna facilitates that. He says, okay, you want it, you can try it. You want to try this kind of body, you want to try that kind of body, you want to try moving your furniture this way or that way, you want to try living in Hawaii, you want to try living in Texas, you want to try living on the moon, you want to try living on the sun, you want to try living in a different universe, check it out. And he facilitates us. He gives us instruction. Right? If you want to do that, this is how you have to act. Prabhupada says he even gives us instruction how to go to hell if we want to. And there are people who are attracted to hell. When one year when I was at the Woodstock Festival, we were taking a little Rath Yatra cart around, and there was this group of people listening to, I guess they considered it music. It sounded to me like wolves growling. I mean, I just like couldn't fathom how anybody could consider that music. C.S. Lewis says that in heaven there's either music or silence, but in hell there is noise. And they were dressed all in black, and they were dressed, I don't know, they looked like monsters actually. So they had put on clothing and jewelry and makeup so that they actually kind of looked like Yamadutas, you know, in the way their hair was, and as I say, what they were listening to, it really sounded like the noise of wild animals. So there are people who want to go to hell. They're looking forward to being with other demoniac beings. You know, they want to be vampires and werewolves and monsters, and they actually want that. You know, there's a whole industry in the modern society of, you know, people are spending billions of dollars to meditate on monsters, isn't it? Right? So Krishna gives instruction. If you want to go to hell and be a monster, you can go to hell. If you want to go to heaven and be with Indra or Surya or Chandra or Lord Brahma, the Prajapatis, you can do that. But sometimes the living entity goes, wait a minute, this is not working. It's just not working. And I gave the example yesterday, and I give this example a lot, how one time when I was fasting, I was doing a Nirjala fast, so no food, no water, and I took a little rest. And in my nap, I was dreaming that I was eating a feast. And I was dreaming that I was drinking water, and I was drinking 1 cup of water and another cup of water and another cup of water and another cup of water. And finally, I took a big gallon jug, and I was chugging this gallon jug of water in my dream. And then I had some lucidity in the dream. And all of a sudden I thought, something's wrong. Something's wrong. I'm trying to drink this water and I'm still thirsty. And then immediately when I woke up, and I could understand I was trying to drink dream water. So the living entity, as they're traveling within trying all these different species and planets and this and that, you know, they may get this moment of lucidity and say, wait a minute, why isn't it working? I got the degree I wanted, I got the career I wanted, I got the romantic partner I wanted, I got the house I wanted, I got this and that, I got all these things that I wanted. It's all, my ducks are lined up in a row, and it's just not working. I'm still feeling empty. Is this all there is? And when those moments of lucidity comes, which has happened to Vaidarbhi here. I mean, she was the wife in this life of a great devotee because of her pious activities in the previous life as Puranjana. She has these children who are 7 of the angas of devotional service. So she's primed for this moment of lucidity when her husband, who's symbolically her guru, leaves. And all of a sudden she has this, what do I want? I mean, a similar thing happens to Devahuti. Right? Devahuti's married to Kardama Muni. She's married to this great soul. And she's living in austerity, serving him. And then she says, you know, I kind of really want to be a real grahasta. Can we cut the tapasya for a while? And he's like, sure. You know, here's 1,000 maidservants, and here's a gorgeous intergalactic spaceship city. And, you know, we'll go everywhere in the universe and enjoy everything. And she has these 9 daughters. And then she's like, wait a minute. I'm still not happy. I'm still not satisfied. I'm full of fear. Can you give me fearlessness? So in these moments of lucidity, then the Lord switches. And instead of mitasmatirgyanam apohanam cha, for how we can try to, you know, you can enjoy this way you want, do this karma, you can want to enjoy this way you want, do this V karma. He starts saying, hi, I'm your friend. Your real happiness is if you turn towards me. You're not going to find any happiness turning away from me in any variety. Another analogy that I like, it's just like Suppose you had a meal behind you, and in front of you is a mirror, and the mirror is reflecting the meal. No matter how much you try to take the meal in the mirror, you won't be satisfied. You have to turn around. So because we have turned away from Krishna, Bahirmukhi, we have turned our face away from Krishna, everything we're trying to enjoy is simply a reflection. And we try to grab it, you just run into the glass. So Krishna's saying, you know, it's not what kind of body you have. It's not that you've got to try to get a demigod body or a different gender or a different color or a different amount of wealth or a different career. Or what you have to do is you have to turn around and have a relationship with me. I am your friend. I am your friend. However, we can't really see our friend clearly at this point when we just have this kind of moment where the clouds part and we go, oh, I'm not happy materially, because the only way we can really see our friend is with love. I mean, that's true to some extent, even in this world. I can only really understand you if I love you. I can't really understand anybody if I don't care about them. First of all, they won't reveal themselves to me if I don't care about them. I'm not going to reveal all the aspects of my personality and desires and thoughts to somebody that I don't trust. You know, often one of the biggest questions that people ask is, can I trust God? And that we're going to get to at the end of this purport is, can I trust that if I surrender to God, he'll take care of me? You know, I've been in this mood that I'm going to take care of myself by material adjustment. So I don't know if I let go of that and I'm just going to trust God. Maybe he's going to let me down. Maybe he really won't hold me up. Maybe I'll jump and I'll fall. But that's not actually the real question. The real question is, can he trust me? Because of course he can hold me. Om Purnamada Purnamidam. Purnat Purnadujachate. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. He's everything complete. He's infinite. You take the infinite away from the infinite, you still have infinite. He already owns everything. He already is everything. Of course he can supply everything. That's not the problem. The problem is he doesn't trust me. Are you going to let someone into your house and share everything with them if you don't trust them? I mean, who are the people to whom we give, you know, a key to our house, the passwords to our bank account, the key to our car, right? People that we trust, and we trust them because they love us. I mean, we don't give that to very many people, do we? I mean, maybe just your spouse, or maybe just your spouse and one other family member or something. I mean, right? Like I saw this really funny meme that the husband's dying and the wife comes to his deathbed and says, what's our Netflix password? Right? Because sometimes we don't even share these things with people we're very close to, isn't it? You know, like I've thought about that. Okay, you know, when I die, who's going to have access to the different passwords that I have, right? And I have them written in a file, but I have them written in a file with hints rather than writing them outright, because I'm thinking if somebody were to, you know, get my files, I don't want them just having, so you'd have to really know me and say, you know, that particular pond at that particular place and that sacred place, that's kind of my hint there, right? So we're only going to reveal ourselves to people we trust. Or, you know, devotees often they're struggling. I had a very unfortunate situation recently where a devotee had a serious fall down. And the problem was that he never revealed his struggles to anybody before that happened. He didn't feel that he had anybody that he could go to and say, hey, I'm really struggling with this. Because who are we going to say that to? Who are we going to go to and say, hey, this is a real problem I have? We're afraid if I do that, the person will hurt me. So Krishna is a person. And Krishna also is thinking, I'm only going to reveal myself to those who love me. Especially Krishna in Vrindavan. Krishna in Vrindavan, the original Krishna in Vrindavan, doesn't even kill demons. He kills demons in his Vasudeva feature. Right? Krishna in his ultimate form, he's just soft. I mean, his form is so soft Rupa Goswami explains that just a leaf touches him and he changes color. You know, I really have to push on my body to get it to change color. He's very, very soft, and he's very open, and he's completely relaxed. He's completely relaxed. He's just himself. You know, there's none of the God business. There's none of the reverence. There's none of the worship. There's none of the adulation. I mean, they respect him because he's the prince. There's some, you know, because he's Nanda Maharaj's son. He's completely relaxed, completely at home, and he's willing to act in ways that are very criticizable. I mean, he's dancing with other men's wives in the middle of the night, for goodness sakes. He's stealing, he's pinching little babies. You know, he's having a pretty wild festival every night. So it's not like he wants to open that up to people who are going to criticize him. So he's Avadunanti Mam Mudha, Manusim Tanumasritam. He's not revealing his nature. So therefore, when we have these moments of lucidity, we don't necessarily see the Lord as he is. He may come in some disguised form, even to such an elevated personality as Vaidarbhi. And in fact, the Lord is coming to us in various forms all of the time. Even to materialistic people, the Lord is coming in disguised forms. I am the light of the sun, and the light of the moon, and the source of light in all luminous objects. I am the heat and fire, which is the heat even in our own bodies, the warmth we feel in this room, our ability, our intelligence, the life of all that lives, our ability to say, I'm sorry, right? And the penances of all the ascetics, strength, everything. It's actually him, but we don't see it as him. He has the whole universal body. The whole universe is his body. Especially this crowd here, I'm sure a lot of them are into the universe, this sort of people. But it's a fact. The universe is the body of God. What does Kunti say? You are the form of the universe. You are the soul of the universe. But we don't see him like that. Oh, there's the sun. There's the trees. There's the clouds. There's the birds. We don't see. The birds are his artistic sense. The trees are the hairs on his body. Do we think when I'm walking between the trees, I'm walking on the body of God among his hairs? So it's a little disguised because he's reserved. We have to have love. But he wants to show himself to us. I mean, we've been in that situation, right? Where there's people that we want to be close to, we want to reveal our heart to them, but we're not quite sure if we can or not. We're kind of testing first. Like, I know I want to be close to you. Of course, this happens in romantic encounters all the time, that the two people are like, I'm attracted to you, I want to be with you, but I don't know. Do you like me? Can I really, right? They play this kind of dance. So Krishna is also doing that with us, and we're doing that too. Can I trust you? I don't know. Can I trust God? I'm not quite sure if I can trust God. And he's like, I'm not quite sure if I can trust you. But we have this moment of awakening. And so he says, all right, what I will do is I will put you in touch with my representative who can teach you how to act in such a way that you will see me. I mean, this makes perfect sense. Again, even in this world, if I want to get to know somebody, but I'm not quite sure how to approach them, I may ask a mutual friend, or I may ask some friend of theirs. Well, what is she like? What is he like? I'd like to get him a present, but what is he like? What kind of things does he like to do? Where does he like to go? So that's what the role of the guru. And therefore we say the guru is the external representative of the super soul. That's why we say Sakshat Hari Tvena Samasta Shastir. It doesn't mean the guru is God. In the purport in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, many, many births we have had, I remember all of them, but you do not. Prabhupada says very clearly that the distinction between God and even the liberator, when Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god. And therefore he says, how did you do that? You're the same age. You're talking to the sun god? How did that happen? And he's a personal companion of Krishna. So the guru is not, when we say the guru is the external representation of the super soul, it doesn't mean that the guru is omniscient and omnipotent and can always tell everything that's in our mind. And it's not like that. But the guru is the external representation of the super soul in the sense, just like I was saying in the beginning, Prabhupada said, I am not your friend, but I am your friend in this sense that I'm giving you your friend. So the guru tells us, this is how you can reawaken your dormant love, having done which the Lord will trust you and the Lord will reveal himself to you. And I was just hearing Srila Prabhupada say this in a class I was listening to this morning. He was saying, the Lord will reveal himself to you. Atashri Krishna namadi na bhaved grahamendriya sevan mukhehi jivado swayam epam surachita. As we serve the Lord, he will reveal himself to us. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada says here in this purport that following the instructions to Guru is tantamount to seeing the Supreme Personality of God. Now, in order to really understand this, we have to, as I was saying, we've turned our face from Krishna. We're trying to enjoy reflection instead of trying to enjoy Krishna. But this turning away from Krishna it's a betrayal. We're trying to enjoy Krishna's energy separately from him. That's a betrayal. It's like if I'm a guest in your house and I try to enjoy the things in your house without relationship to you and without your permission. I've betrayed our friendship. Right? I read a story once of a woman, she had a guest staying at her house, and she also owned a very expensive purse. I don't know, these like Gucci or something, one of these things where people pay like $5,000 for a purse. Anyway, Hare Krishna. So she had one of these, it's a true story. And her friend said, can I borrow it? And she said, sure. And instead of just borrowing it, she sold it and she replaced it with a fake. So the owner, after some time, her friend had left and the fake broke. So she took it to be repaired and the company said, it's a fake. So she goes to her friend and she says, you stole my bag that I lent you. And she said, oh, I needed the money. I'll tell you what, I can give you $500 for it. She didn't get, if somebody can spend the money for one of these bags, I don't think the money was an issue. What the so-called friend who stole the bag didn't get is that she betrayed trust. Yes? So we've done exactly that. Instead of trying to enjoy with Krishna, as Prabhupada says, through Krishna, we've tried to take Krishna's energy, separate it from Krishna, and enjoy it ourselves. We've acted as thieves. That's exactly what we've done. And what we need to do is we need to recognize that. We need to face that. It's not a question of just doing some rituals like this lady said, oh, I can give you $500 for it. It's not like that. People think that's a kind of niyamagraha. We're thinking, well, I'll find God if I do a ritual. If I just move my fingers on the beads, 108 times 16, and I just offer obeisances with this prayer, and I do this fast, and I light this lamp, and I do this thing, then it'll be cool. But the purpose of all of those things that we're doing physically is to change our mentality. And so we say, I'm sorry. Therefore, very nicely explained by Sanatana Goswami in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, that prema and dainya are inseparable. And Krishna says twice when he's talking about the items of knowledge, one must be humble. One must be humble and prideless, he says. So what is this humility? My Lord, I am the offender. We're so worried, can I trust God to take care of me? Is he going to let me fall? And we don't worry, wait a minute, he didn't betray me, I betrayed him. And it's often like that. Like Indra thought that Krishna had betrayed him, right? Indra thought Krishna's the offender. But who was the offender? Indra was the offender. So we think Krishna's offended me. He's put me in this material world of suffering, dukkhalayam shashvatam. I got to be born and forget everything in my past lives, and I can't even talk, and I can't even use the bathroom. And then I have to get educated all over again. And then I keep getting sick. And then after I think I finally got it together, then I start getting old and my body starts falling apart. I can't see as well. I can't hear as well. I can't digest as well. I can't walk as well. And then I die and have to repeat the same thing. And then I have problems with my body and problems with my mind and problems with other living entities. What kind of a God is this that did this to me? So we think that he's offended us. And especially if we think we're very good people, which most people do think they're very good people. Even most criminals think they're very good people, by the way. Like the mafia guys, they think, I take care of my family. They do. Most of us think, very, very few people think that they're not. And, and if they think they're not a good person, usually it's in Tamagun, oh, I'm such a bad person. So we're thinking, he's betrayed me. And the actual fact is we betrayed him. The actual fact is that we've offended him. That's the act. He's always been our friend. So the process of bhakti given to us by the guru is not just some external mechanical things by which we buy our way back into the good grace of God, but they are meant to cleanse our heart, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. So we start to see things clearly and see, wait a minute, the Lord has always been there. He's always been my friend. He's always taken care of me in every respect. Whatever I'm suffering is because I wanted to suffer that thing, and therefore he gave me instructions on how to suffer in that way. That's actually the reality. I think I'd like to try this, just like people, they want to take intoxication. That's all suffering, right? That's what toxic means. They want to suffer. So the government facilitates it. Okay, fine. You have to be this age and this requirement, and you can get it over there. And because, the government has learned by experience that if they try to stop it altogether, people will do it anyway, and they'll cause more trouble. So they say, all right, if you want to suffer, you can suffer like this. We'll facilitate your suffering. So we see Krishna as my friend. I've wanted to suffer. And he said, okay, fine. I want to suffer like this. Okay, fine. No, I think I'd like to suffer like this. Okay, why don't you try that? Okay, I would go. So that's what bhakti does. And we go, oh, we start to see clearly, wait a minute, I'm a pure soul. I'm not suffering. Never was suffering. This is all just some hallucination. I've always had Krishna as my friend. I've always been a pure soul. I've never had anything to do with this phantasmagoria. It was all just a dreamlike state that Krishna allowed in me because of my desire, and I need to show him that I really care. And I do that by learning to love him. And how do I learn to love him? By hearing about him. I hear about his pastimes. I hear about his qualities. I hear about his devotees. I hear the philosophy. And then I'm like, wow, he's wonderful. He's so much more wonderful than any of the people to whom I've tried to give my love in this world and been disappointed. If I've been able to love a little jiva in this world, one little tiny, tiny, tiny jiva in Kali Yuga on the earth planet, and I found ways to love that person, how much more lovable is the source of all jivas? And I really start to love him. And when I actually awaken my love, and it's stages, the more I awaken my love, the more I actually see that there's Krishna. The disguises start to fall away. I start to see, oh, there's Krishna in the sunlight. Oh, there's Krishna in my memory. Oh, there's Krishna in the life of all living beings. Oh, there's Krishna in the devotees. Oh, there's Krishna in my guru. Oh, there's Krishna in the Shastra. And as Prabhupada says, as I follow, it's tantamount to seeing the Supreme Lord face to face. I start experiencing that I've always been with Krishna. I've never really been separated from him at all. And proportionately to how I develop love, that proportionally Krishna starts to trust me. And he starts to reveal himself. And then what happens is I find that I also have everything I need in an ordinary sense. As Prabhupada ends this purport with saying that when one does that, right? As far liberation is standing there, all material conveniences. As far as material conveniences are concerned, they automatically come, just as the maidservants of a queen follow the queen wherever she goes. Liberation is no problem for the pure devotee, and all material conveniences are simply awaiting him at all stages of life. The wise Prabhupada is saying queen. In a sense, each jiva, the Lord sees as his queen in one sense. Not that everybody has a madhurya relationship with the Lord, but Krishna sees like that. You're my beloved. I mean, in this world, generally people, they provide for their loved ones, isn't it? I mean, a reasonable, ordinary parent, not a dysfunctional, abusive parent, but, you know, of course, nowadays, it's really hard to talk about ordinary good parents. You know, you ask a crowd of 1,000 people, how many of you had functional, loving families? And, you know, 10 people raised their hand. So these analogies start being more and more and more difficult. You know, just as you should chant like a child calling for their mother. I'm like, I don't want to call her my mother. She's a nutcase, you know. So it becomes, these analogies become very, very difficult. But in a loving family, of course, the parents provide everything the kids need. Of course they do. They provide all the food that they need, the clothing, the education. They provide even things the kids don't need. You know, my youngest son and his wife, their kids have, you know, soccer lessons, baseball, basketball. The 2 older kids are junior lifeguards, you know, whatever, everything. That's why they say it costs so much money to raise a kid in America. That's only if you do all those things, you know. If you don't do all those things, it's not that costly. And brand new clothes and, you know, the best shoes and everything. And they're just Kali Yuga humans. You know, so why wouldn't God? Why wouldn't he provide? Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, I think it's 243, he says, Nir Yoga Kshema Atmavan. Don't worry about Yoga Kshema. Don't worry about what you have, protecting what you have, getting what you don't have. Atmavan, just focus on the self. Well, what will happen then? About, what is it, 9:22? Yoga Kshema Vaham Yaham. So you have Nir Yoga Kshema Atmavan and Yoga Kshema Vaham Yaham. I'll take care of you. And we might say, but we see the pure devotees. They don't always seem to get taken care of. I mean, the first thing I thought when I read that, was reading that purport to prepare for today's class, was, oh, but Prabhupada, were you always taken care of? And then with those 4 or 5 years after you left your family when you were homeless, hardly the paisa to take a train, not rupees, paisa. He was counting paisa to take a train, and he didn't have the paisa to go back. He had to depend on someone giving him a donation at the destination to go back. Were all your needs taken care of? A cargo boat? Hey, there were planes then. Why not a plane? Why a cargo ship? And for like 8 or 10 days, Prabhupada was fasting because he couldn't eat the food that others prepared. And it wasn't until the captain bought him a little stove in a port Prabhupada could even cook. Or what about the Pandavas? You know, Bhishma saying, I mean, we think we have problems. You know, talk about problems. And even after supposedly all their problems were solved and they won the battle, Ashwatthama goes and kills all their kids. I mean, the battle's over, you won, yay, victory. All right, now let's do another Rajasuya and we'll rule the world and everything's solved. And you go in the morning, your kids are murdered. So what does that mean? Obviously, it doesn't mean that if one is in touch with the Lord, that you're necessarily going to live, you know, like Indra. Of course, Indra even has problems. Bali comes, takes away his kingdom, and he messes up sometimes and gets eyes all over his body. I mean, even he has problems. But it doesn't mean that God's going to go in front of our life with a steamroller, you know. And this is why people lose faith. That one very good friend of mine, you know, a very strict devotee, born in a devotee family, never did any gross sinful activity, real gentleman, first-class pukka. Devotee, got initiated, got married, and his wife cheated on him. I mean, not just a little bit, but like really, you know, heavy-duty stuff. Evidently, she was cheating on him before they got married and after they're married and with random people when they were on their honeymoon. And just like beyond, 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 beyond. And his response was, well, why be a devotee? You know, he stopped chanting, he said, Krishna doesn't take care. I was a good person. Krishna didn't take care of me. So when Prabhupada makes these statements, we can think like that. But if we really look deep, we will see that Krishna has always provided everything I needed exactly the way I needed, exactly at the right time, exactly in the right quantity, exactly. Everything's perfect. And my biggest lesson with that, which I will not tell you, especially not today, had to do with Gita Nagari and how we wanted to stay here for the rest of our lives. And Krishna said, no. And when we left, I thought my whole life was finished. All of my dreams were shattered and all of my desires and everything was finished. And later on, I saw that Krishna did me a great favor. And he did exactly what was needed for me at the time and for my whole life. And I saw when it looks like Krishna's taking things away or it looks like he doesn't give, actually he's giving us the best thing. But it may not look like it for us at that time from our material vision. Like when the parent takes away the child's toy and says, you know, you have to eat your broccoli now. The child may think my parent hates me. You know, why can't I just play all day? Why do I have to eat broccoli? But actually it's for the child's benefit. So we looked at how the Lord is actually the best friend. He's the only ultimate friend, and that he's always speaking sweetly to us in the heart, that when we have these moments of lucidity, he switches from telling us how to fulfill our material desires to how to come back to him. And he puts us then in touch with a guru who engages us in the practice of bhakti, not as a mechanical process, but as a process to awaken our love. And as we proportionately awaken our love, the Lord proportionally reveals himself because he trusts us. And as we fully awaken our love, we see that he is always there. And we also see that he is always perfectly providing for us, however it may look externally, that everything we are getting and everything we are living is absolutely perfect and always given in love. So thank you very much. I think we have just time now to greet the deities. Again, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.